It's my Barcelona suit. You know, I don't even know where my Olympic medal is. I don't even know.
Why did you decide to do this documentary?
Sometimes I think that, you know, maybe there's an untold story. You know, it gives me a chance to put my story across.
In first place, the only runner in history to hold at the same time Commonwealth, European, Olympic and world titles, and now adds the BBC Sports Personality of the Year trophy to his glittering list of achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, Linford Christie.
Linford Christie!
Linford Christie.
Hi there, you're watching Linford's Record Breakers.
Who else has won all 4 titles and held them at the same time in a sprint event, in a men's 100 blue ribboned event? My days.
I remember after the race, they gave me a test where I did the test and everything else, and then we just went home.
I got a phone call to say, Linford, and he's tested positive for nandrolone. You need to let him know.
We got a phone call from Sue. What's going on? And she goes, oh yeah, you failed the test. I said, shut up. And I think I even put the phone down because I thought, you know, you're talking rubbish. I said, no, she goes, no, I'm serious, I'm serious. I said, stop playing April Fools. She goes, no, it's serious. I said, no, I couldn't have. Didn't even know what nandrolone was.
The sports world in shock as Linford Christie fails a drugs test.
He's a national hero. Running tracks are named after him, an inspiration to thousands of youngsters who want to follow in his footsteps. Linford Christie will now appear before a disciplinary panel, where he'll be given the opportunity to explain how a banned substance came to be in his system.
When people take drugs, they're trying to achieve something. What did I need to achieve? I had won everything there was to win in that sport. And it wasn't that I was going to win it again. I had retired. I just wanted my reputation, you know, and that's all I wanted.
If you're a cheat, there should be no place in sport. And I'm one of the old school who believes that somebody who cheats should be kicked out of sport and should stay out of sport. This folder is the evidence that was presented at the disciplinary hearing. The onus was on UK Athletics to prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt. And when you have an athlete's reputation at stake, the testing has to be perfect.
After you then do your samples, they're supposed to send it straight to the lab. And and the guy who did it, who took the sample, didn't send it to the lab. He kept it and he put it in the boot of his car. He said he put it on his windowsill. He put it in his fridge. There is just something that's not right with this process.
So we see here a number of issues relating to the procedures. I don't believe this material affects the outcome, but it does raise some concerns.
It meant everything to him to clear his name. He was so desperate. He was so desperate to find an answer and for someone to say, this is what went wrong.
If you inject nandrolone, you get very, very high concentrations in the circulation. It'll stay quite high for a number of months afterwards. When Linford failed his test, he was called for another test.
And there was nothing in my system. My test was negative.
He hadn't injected nandrolone. An injection was shown to be the most effective way of taking the steroid. But it doesn't exclude the possibility he could have taken some nandrolone orally.
The former Olympic champion Linford Christie has been cleared of taking banned drugs by the governing body of British athletics.
Christie was cleared when the governing body said they couldn't be sure the traces came from a banned substance.
I was happy that they believed that I said I didn't do it. But now you've got to go and explain yourself all over again.
Christie's case is being examined by the sports world governing body.
The International Amateur Athletic Federation could still overrule the decision.
I was liaising with the IAAF people through my lawyers. I didn't want to, and then they said to me, I need to come to Monte Carlo to explain myself. Off. I'm not doing that. I was not going.
Why?
Why? Why? The thing is, I didn't do it. And the problem is UK Athletics, I've already been through all that with UK Athletics. And they found me, innocent, exonerating me. Double jeopardy, isn't it?
One of Britain's most famous sportsmen, Linford Christie, has been banned from athletics for failing drugs tests. The International Amateur Athletics Federation upheld its decision to suspend Christie for 2 years.
They say the onus is on the athlete to prove he could not have taken the drug, not on the sport to prove he had.
When they decided that they were going to reverse UK Athletics' decision, I think by that time I was emotionless.
So Linford comes across as being of quite a hard exterior, and he might conduct himself in a way that just says, I really don't care, I don't know them, I don't care. He absolutely does. It did affect me in a big way, because then I couldn't commentate anymore. There was no more Linford the record breakers. Sponsors was just dropping. For 2 years, I didn't earn a penny.
You spent a long time building your reputation.
It's never really going to come back to what it was. Seriously, it's not, how is it ever? I have suffered for, 25 years. If they came back and said, okay, we made a mistake, what would it change for me? It didn't change how I feel about myself. It didn't change how my family feels about me. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise.
Christie!
That's me.